Today on TFL Bike, we have news from Ducati. They have just revealed a new motorcycle, and the crazy thing about this is that it doesn't have an engine.
Yeah, it's a Ducati. It's freaking awesome, man. This is a race bike right now. It's made for MotoE, which is the electric segment of MotoGP racing. So yeah, we have a lot of details on this new bike. This is going to be the replacement for the Energica Egos they've been using since the start of MotoE in 2019. And yes, it's a race bike right now. But Ducati says they do have plans to take some of this technology and make it into a production bike. So you can't buy this yet, but it's Ducati's first electric bike, and we think a lot of this tech is going to trickle down, and hopefully we'll see a production version pretty soon.
Yeah, and that is backed up by what Ducati themselves have said. This is a quote: "Every development in this area can transfer to motorcycles destined for enthusiastic Ducatisti from all over the world." So their plan is to develop this technology in racing and then bring it eventually to a product that you, the regular consumer, can buy. But a little bit more about this specific prototype. So it's called the V21L prototype. Not a very creative, fun Italian name, but V21L prototype for the 2023 FIM MotoE World Cup. So MotoE started out in 2019. Like Alex said, they've been powered by the Energica Eco Corsa bikes, but for the 2023 season, Ducati is going to be the sole supplier for MotoE. So all 18 bikes on the field are going to be Ducatis, and Ducati claims that they're around about 70 to 75% through the development of this race bike.
Yeah, we're right in the throes of MotoGP season right now, so we're less than a year away from them needing to have these on the grid ready to go. And like Kay said, 18 bikes, they're all going to be these, but they need a hell of a lot more than 18 to make this happen. Every rider is going to have 2 bikes and probably even more backups and prototype testing models. So yeah, they're 70 to 75% done, but they have a hard deadline that they need to meet. And I think they're going to make it happen. Ducati's got enough funding behind them and enough practice making production motorcycles and race motorcycles that I'm confident they can get this out there.
Yeah, they've definitely got the resources. I think something that's a little disappointing is that there's not going to be any competition between different manufacturers. That can be a lot of the fun of watching racing with any vehicles, is rooting for a certain type of bike that you might like versus another. So the entire field being the same exact motorcycle, I mean, that's good for riders.
Yeah.
That's a great competition for skill of the person that's actually operating the vehicle, but
it makes tire choice a lot more interesting, you know?
Yeah.
But like you said, yeah, it's cool to see.
I kind of like competition between OEMs.
Yeah, it adds a whole new style of competition. You have the rider competition, but then you have all the different manufacturers trying to make the best bike possible too. So you don't quite get that with this, but hopefully down the line, every manufacturer that participates will, have their own version of the electric bike, and the field will be 5-6 different manufacturers at some point.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
Again, it will be interesting to see. It's all going to come down to the riders because the bikes are going to be the same. So that'll be exciting. Let's go ahead and get into specs on this bike. Powered by a 110 kilowatt electric motor that spins up to 18,000 RPM. Tell us a little bit about power and torque.
Yeah, so power is about 150 horsepower, 103 foot-pounds of torque. So, definitely down on power compared to a full-on MotoGP bike. But 171 mile per hour top speed. And here's where things get a little interesting. It's the weight. What does this thing weigh?
It weighs 496 pounds, which is a lot of weight for any sport bike, any super bike. And a lot of that comes down to the 242-pound battery. A MotoGP bike weighs about 346, 350 pounds. So this battery weighs 100 pounds less than an entire MotoGP bike.
Yeah, pretty crazy figure there. The battery is a really cool, innovative piece of tech, I think, though. It is heavy, but if you look at this bike, it's very clearly a Ducati. It looks Ducati from the front end. They didn't reshape the bodywork to make it fit a battery. They made the battery fit the bike. So if you look at what the battery looks like, it fills up every nook and cranny. It's not just like a black box. It's kind of the shape of the motorcycle. It fits pretty perfectly in there. The whole casing is made out of carbon fiber. And there's a lot of carbon fiber all over this bike, but I think just the way they were able to shape the battery, make it take up every little cavity inside this bike and keep it clearly looking like a Ducati is pretty cool.
Yeah, and aside from the lack of an exhaust sticking out at the bottom, you really wouldn't guess by looking at it that it's electric. So I think that bodes well for the future of Ducati electric bikes. When those become production vehicles, they're not going to be these weird, awkward looking, funky shapes. We can reasonably expect that it's going to mimic the race bike, so it'll actually look like a Ducati.
Yeah, I think when these do trickle out to the market, it's probably going to look like a Panigale V4 with no exhaust pipe, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, so a little bit more on specs. The electric powertrain is an 800 volt system, 18 kilowatt hour battery pack with 1,152 cells in it, organized in such a way, like Alex was saying, to fit that very unique fairing shape. Ducati claims it takes about 45 minutes for the bike to charge up to 80%, and you don't have to let it cool down, from what they say, after riding it to start charging it. There's a dual cooling system for the battery and the motor that Ducati claims is very capable. It's one of the things that they emphasize most in their press release.
You can kind of see it here. This top section, the top cooler, is going to be for the battery, and then the lower section there, that's for the motor and the inverter.
And then some more components. This bike has Öhlins NPX 2530 forks, whatever that means. They're 43 millimeter forks, and it's a TTX 36 rear shock.
That's the same shock I have on my R6.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that? So it's all Öhlins suspension, obviously fully adjustable, also an Öhlins steering damper, and ginormous 338 millimeter Brembo brakes. So yeah, a pretty stunning bike. I mean, all carbon all over the place, unsurprisingly. It is a race bike. So it'll be interesting to see if Ducati at any point soon releases any word about what versions of this bike might become available to the public, because that's when it's going to get really more exciting for regular guys like us. Unless you're a motorsports fan, this bike isn't going to be relevant to you until something like it becomes available for purchase for a regular person that wants to ride and they're not a professional.
Yeah, and I mean, take Ducati, look at their V4 example. They do a lot of engine sharing within their lineups.
Yeah.
So you can get the Panigale V4, you can get a Street Fighter V4 in a naked, you can get a V4 in an adventure bike in the Multistrada. So hopefully start with the race bike, then they bring it out to a Panigale, but it's very possible this same powertrain could make it into an adventure bike, into a scrambler, into a lot of the other bikes Ducati makes. So if this isn't quite making you super excited, just stay tuned, because there will probably eventually be a bike that kind of gets you excited about the whole EV thing.
Yeah, so this is a big step for Ducati working towards making an electric motorcycle, and it's probably going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same case for most manufacturers. Most motorcycle manufacturers are at least working towards that kind of thing. Alex and I are still partial to gas-powered bikes, but
yes,
it's just cool to see
one thing I do like
develop.
about this, like we've done a few videos on the Triumph TE1, for example, and that, I don't know why I get this feeling, but that seems more like vaporware to me, just because we've seen like so much research, but we haven't actually seen like the bike riding and moving.
Well, and that's because they're rolling it out in a unique way.
Yeah.
Because usually a bike gets fully developed behind the curtain, and then they pull open the curtain and it's a finished product. Triumph has been walking us through the process as they develop the bike, which is kind of cool.
It's cool, but this just seems like it's more ready to me. Like, we've seen footage of it going out on the track. We have pictures of it all put together. And I don't know, it just seems like a more complete finished package. And maybe it's the fact that they have a deadline to start the season with, and I know it needs to be done by then. So, they're not just going to keep dragging it out. It needs to be done by next season, or MotoE is not going to happen. So I'm excited about it. I'm sure you're not too surprised by that. Yeah. But yeah, Ducati's first electric bike right there, the Ducati. They're not actually calling it that, but I think it's a clever name.
Yeah, we didn't come up with that, but that is a clever name.
Yeah, whoever wrote that headline, good on you. You did good work today. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to head on over to alltfl.com so you don't miss any stories in the motorcycle world. And also check out tflbids.com. The Trail 70 that Andy helped us restore and put together, it's all polished up. We've been riding around the office, trying to put some miles on it, getting it broken in for whoever the new buyer is. And that's going up for auction soon, so make sure you check out the website, get familiar with it, set up an account so you're ready to go when that bike goes live. I'll catch you in the next video.